Good evening, all the gents and ladies who are available here. And this is that as we are the non-profit organizations, RWA, I'm talking about, and we are the most people who generally pay the tax on time, and on top of that, for running the business, running the maintenance of the RWAs, we have to put the GST clause also on top of it, and there is a slab of 7,500 rupees as well. So my sincere request to you that if we can take it to the GST Council and we can just exempt us from that particular point, that will be great to all of the RWAs.
I have come all the way from Bangalore to have an interaction with you. I have been facing a few problems in my apartment, wherein the apartment association was claiming an amount of between 10,000 to 25,000. Since I didn't bow and bulge to their demands, they have disconnected the current to my apartment, and I am living without current for the last 5 years. I wish you would interfere in this matter and help me get out of this. If I have not paid some amount, they could have gone to the court to recover this amount. I think we have good laws in place as far as apartment and courts are concerned. Instead of doing that, they have gone ahead doing gundaism, and they have disconnected the current to my apartment. The builder in turn has a lot of things to do. He left the project halfway. He has to pay us a 5 crore plus amount, which is due to be paid to the association. That is not being concentrated on. They could have gone and disconnected the current to his apartment, since the amount of 5 crores is more and 25,000 is just a bare minimum. But they resorted to disconnection of my current rather than concentrating on the builder. Ma'am, being BJP in power in Karnataka, I wish you would interfere into this matter and have it solved. I will do that.
But we will definitely.
I have brought a representation, but since I have travelled all the way from Bangalore, I wanted to present it myself.
Definitely address to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
But going forward, I request the guests, to speak anything about the public in large. Any issues which concern the public and the civic communities, or any issues that pertain to your sector that you represent.
Our organization is a very small organization, but spread across Karnataka. Actually, to look into the issues that apartment buyers and the home dwellers are facing across the state. So some of the point I would like to place to you, some to be addressed from the central government, that is, which comes actually under your department, and some comes to under the state as such. Madam, I would like to bring here actually properties of land and the building codes. When a person purchases a home loan, on the flat a lien is created, but not on the property. Now this is being exploited by the builder community to the greater extent. Even one I would like to bring to your kind notice what I have heard. One of the apartment complex, income tax department has confiscated the property in Bangalore, where 2,000 apartments are being sold and people are living there unaware of it. Now, how the income tax department can able to recover that money? Because the land is in the name of the promoter, it continues, and the income tax department is attaching the property. Absolutely, the apartment owners are at stake. This is one lacuna in the law where it is creating. I think that the central government should address this matter. However, it should be either in the property where it is being done. Now, what is happening in case of no? Let me put to you.
No, wait a minute.
I'll come to that.
I've asked you one specific question. Which law?
The property law, when it is being sold apartment.
Property law has nothing to do with me. I hear you still.
Under income tax in that case.
It can't be property law and income law.
Because the property is being attached.
Never mind, you'll give me your reference.
Yeah, I will give it to you.
Have a look at it.
Now, what is happening in this case is most of the bankers are going for equitable mortgage. That is deposit of the title deed. It is not creating a lien on the property as such. Now, this is where the people are getting a repeated mortgage and it is going on. And some of the institutions, in fact, it has been brought to your notice. That is Uzona Azana.
Sir, just
No, I'll finish it. It's not
please,
okay.
just very briefly.
And secondly, PAN card is being issued. On the strength of the PAN card, banks are opening the account and such organization claim as a body corporate and disturb. And what Madam was telling, she is a victim of crime. Now this is where, how can we able to address this and look into it?
They are complex issues, they are not just black and white. If you're telling me that you have something in common with that lady there, I'm sorry, it will be actually against the association itself. Does the association have the right to cut off? Let me ask you that question back again. So let's not get into the details you're giving me. Is per law the RWA empowered enough to connect, disconnect? So you don't please suddenly find association. Hold on, gentlemen, hold on. You don't just find association because they are both housing related. It'll actually go against you. You're representing a housing association. Somebody similar to you is offending her. So don't find quick companionship there. But if you have a paper into which you've gone into the details of your issue, which has a lot more complex matters, please give it to the organizers. To the organizers. He's not the organizer. He's the minister.
Don't get offended.
I'm not offended, but yet.
I'd like to bring to your notice.
I'm not offended,
No,
but
one-
yet I wouldn't be in a position to get into the details of all that you're saying unless I go through the paper in its fullness and understand every calibration that is there in it or every overlap that is there in it. So while I welcome you getting into the details, I completely feel disabled to comment on it. Before I read your paper, I can't even comment. So nobody gets offended, but it will not also be realistic on your part to expect me to answer having not even seen the paper. So pardon me for that, but give the paper, we'll definitely have a look.
Given the paper.
Now, one quick.
Even today, urban citizens are not aware about the objective scope and jurisdiction of RERA Act, whether it is to protect the interest of the builders or the potential buyers. That's one thing. Number two, since our Honorable Health Minister also happens to be the convener of the Manifesto Committee, can you guarantee better caliber of representation in forthcoming BBMP election for Bangalore City? Some of the finest brains in the country, most creative minds in the country, most enterprising personalities in the country, they are all citizens of Bangalore. And what kind of representation we are getting in BBMP, Dr. Sudhakar? Can your party assure in the next election at least 50% of the seats shall be given to fairly educated, well-informed, and totally dedicated cadre of candidates? Otherwise, we are ruled by mafias. Semi-literate or illiterate mafias are ruling Bangalore City. We deserve a better team. These two are my requests.
I think you have a strong case. Yes, ma'am. Because RERA was definitely a very reformatory step.
Yes, yes.
RERA was a very progressive, forward-looking step, keeping in mind the home buyers. And probably to an extent also keeping in mind the builders and their, if I can use the word loosely, legitimacy.
Yes.
So it was meant to protect and authenticate builders as much as protect the buyers. It has now caused a lot of difficulty, particularly in a place like Bengaluru, where apartments are becoming part of most people's lives. I take your point. I won't promise anything on behalf of the state's manifesto committee, in which I am not a member, but I will certainly put that across to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Secretary of Bangalore Apartments Federation. First of all, thank you. We are a collective of 1,200 resident welfare associations in the city of Bangalore. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, sir, for your opportunity as well. I won't go into too much of details. Ma'am, we have put together a charter of requests that we have compiled together in a conscience form. I'll hand it over to the team. But just to take on from the input which a couple of my colleagues over here extended, in the last 10 years, I think in Bangalore, we know that there has been 10 to 15 years, there's been a massive growth of population and the city is creaking. But it's also this population which has come together to give the image of Bangalore what it is, right? Many of my colleagues were staying, and a lot of them stay in apartments. So the apartment format has sort of supported the great growing need of housing in this city. But I think the identity to do that as a collaborator partner to the government and to work together has not yet been accordingly. My humble request, not going into details, is that in the next dispensation, whenever that happens, that the RWS and the associations are accorded that identity in law as well as in practice to be able to engage more actively, so that there is a lot more collaboration which can happen and issues and concerns can be sorted more in an integrated fashion. Of course, that's something which can be thought through in a little bit more detail. We have a bunch of things that we have put together over here, which comprises laws, civic agencies, all the other infrastructure that we think that might be of impact, and we'll be happy to put it and hand it over to him. But thank you so much, ma'am. We'll hope to interact more on that in future.
I'll just take this opportunity to say that in 2019, two major housing issues went to the Supreme Court. I'm sure most of you are aware of it. I think it was JP and Amrapali. Of course, both Delhi and neighborhood areas, NCR areas. But post that, when very many flat buyers approached the government and said, look, we're all left high and dry, we've not got our flats, we're paying the EMI for our loans, but also paying rents. Do something about it. The projects are incomplete. The builder is to be found nowhere. We don't know who to go. That's when Government of India and many delegations went to the PM, and in one of the two cases, the Supreme Court also came up with a guidance, not a verdict per se, but guidance to the Government of India to see if NBCC could take up the project and complete it, and so on. So at that time in 2019, there was just a lot of concern about all over the country where projects were stalled, not just in metropolitan India. And when we came up with the single window for completion of projects, and I'm glad to say more than 180,000 flat owners, the number may be more, not less, have been finally given their apartment keys after completion of the projects through the government funded project, which through the SBI caps raised more money from the market and was able to fund all those incomplete projects. Why am I talking about it now? The homeowners and apartment buyers, the kind of problems they get into unknowingly, have all been in the minds of the Prime Minister from 2019, and now we've been very seriously devising ways in which there can be relief given to the apartment buyers, largely all of whom are middle class. They really can't afford to have rent also paid, EMI also paid, but not having possession of their properties. So I'm sure the suggestions which are coming from you all today will be both seen by the state party and us. We are not talking in terms of any party or otherwise, but it is certainly important that these issues are being brought to our notice, and I will certainly attend.
Because there's so much gray area, it's up to the interpretation of the people. So I would request and one more additional point I would request is local governance is something I think which would really help at a level where we can participate. There are a lot of issues I see, but I don't know how to address. So strengthening the local bodies. I think, Madam, your ministry has some incentives through urban local bodies giving to states to implement on certain schemes. But more generic reform, if both the central and the state governments can look at it, Bangalore as a city will really benefit, because there are a lot of individuals who want to contribute.
Happy that Bangalore is the second largest metro next to Delhi. But as someone chartered accountant, when we go to clients' places, the last mile connectivity is still missing. Though there are in major metros, it is there. Frequency needs to be enhanced. So probably the government can work upon that. That's one request. Second, as a chartered accountant, I am the Vice President of Karnataka CA Association. There are many professionals because of COVID and other eventualities who lost their life. Of course, majority of them are financially well placed, but still there are few chartered accountants who have lost their life. So probably, of course, our ICA, our mother body is also supporting them in the form of fund. But if there can be any soft landing fund in terms of to take care of the livelihood from government side, it would be of great help.
As a SME, I'm a trader. My point is to the Finance Minister. Transaction charges which we supposed to pay when we transact from the purchaser seller 50 lakhs. I think this, because already we are online total. Everything is in online.
In India, here the issue is daycare is generally a neglected area in India. It is not having any big organized sector. So especially during the COVID also, there was it not came under essential product, and it was literally 2 years was closed. Almost all the daycare center in India. So especially in our case, 95% of you go to any daycare center, 95% of employees are women. And also the
there is a lot of problems that we face. It is really like if I tell you, you will not believe such kind of this thing we have faced. So I know you are not the right person, but maybe if you can convey this to BBMP officials, that some of the things, some of the regulations they can make so that it will be easy for us. Every year we have to bribe so much. Every year we have to pay so much for getting simple things. Like these are all legal things, but still we have to struggle so much for that.
Coming from a top class builder apartment apartment, and necessarily you started hearing everything about how we as home buyers are going through the hard situation. Being intellects, having so much of achievements we have done, the way we go through challenges and just to get our home and get to have all these things is a big challenge. I certainly want all of your attention to make sure that the home buyers' interests are taken care. Most important submission also I want to put forth is RERA. Right? RERA has brought in a lot of good points, but then the implementation of that is really the challenge. Right? And for that, I would also like to bring about one request is we would need a empowered, competent authority defined and the office bearers installed so that the home buyers get to have a rightful association formation under the right act, land conveyance is taken care, and uphold the rights of the home buyers.
Association bylaws, preventive clauses in the association bylaws, they don't care about anything, anybody. They go into JVs with builders and they want to, turn the whole place upside down by commercializing residential plots.
ಏನೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಎಂತ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವತಃ 2 ಸತಿ 3 ಸತಿ ಕರೋನಾ ಆಗಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಅದನ್ನ ಇದು ಮಾಡಲಾರ್ದೇನೆ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಎಂತ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದಂಥ ಸುಂದರವಾದಂಥ ಕಲ್ಪನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಂಥ 2 ಮಹಾನ್ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡದೆ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶ ಇನ್ನೇನೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಂದು ಎರಡೇ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ನಾನು ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ಲಿಂದ ಬೀದರ್ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಇವ್ರದ್ದೊಂದು ಅಬ್ದುಲ್ ಕಲಾಂದು ಒಂದು ಇದಿತ್ತು, ಪುರಾನ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡಿಂಗ್ ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಅಮ್ಯುನಿಟೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ರೂರಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಡ್ಯಾಪ್ನವ್ರು ಏನು ಪಡೆದ ಈ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವಂಥ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು, ಸಾವಯವ ಕೃಷಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಆಟ ಪೀಠಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಬನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಏನಾದರೂ ಉತ್ತೇಜನ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಮೇಡಮ್.
Government collect tax, but government will not pay any pension to the taxpayers. My first request is those who are paying taxes should be secure. The government should provide security for those people. That is, let us suppose a person starts paying tax at the age of 25. He pays at the age of up to the 60 years. Whatever the proposed rate of tax that has been paid, in prorata to the tax paid, government should start paying pension till his demise. Upon demise, whatever the pension that is paid to the demise person should not be transferred to the any of the kith and kin. That it will transfer to general revenue of the government alone. And secondly, after the age of 60, there will be a close relationship between the illness and the age. So in some cases, government children will not take care of them. For example, 3 days before, one newspaper announcement has come. A person was there. He was living with his wife, 2 children. He was living with his second son. Second son died, and daughter-in-law threw them out. Then they came to the first son. They also did the same thing. They have written a death note stating that what are all the anomalies that has faced. Accordingly, consumed poison and died. If that person pension should have been paid, then automatically those people should have been leaved. But government is taking one way. Government is collecting taxes only, but in no way they are protecting the interest of the taxpayers. That should be taken care of by the government till the person who is paying the taxes. And secondly, what is going on? For example, I have pen in my pocket, I can throw it, but I cannot take pen from his pocket and throw it. The reason why that I am quoting the example is, see, the taxpayers' money is being used for distribution of freebies by these political parties. With the result, taxes are being increased time and again. On the other hand, poverty will also increase. Taxes are more. The living rate will become more. This should not happen. In fact, once I have been interviewed with the bank about the fixed deposit scheme. I said, after the retirement, the person will keep the money in fixed deposit to see that at least something will help for his revenue.
Sorry,
what the government is doing?
Please.
Sorry. Thank you. I think this is coming under the income tax act. Better I say, request you, madam, please consider to provide the social security to the taxpayer first and to avoid freebies.
I have one street, 86,000 crores unpaid amount is there in ESA. Recently we got the news that that amount will be used in going to invest in the stock market. I don't know how safe it is. If you use it,
I don't know where you got this.
it has come in the paper.
Even they have come in the papers, I don't know anything.
But it can be used for the employees.
I don't know anything about it, is what I'm saying.
Second, can there be a more investment on the tourism, madam? Tourism is the part which is more important for every country. We have lesser investment, lesser promotion activities in tourism, madam. That is my request.
Hello, good evening. Narendra Modi ji from the past 15 years, we respect Bharatiya Janata Party. Ma'am, but the main concern is commute to local buses and metro. The main thing is we have pathways in our area when it's raining. It's difficult to commute in pathways after raining. After coming to our office, it is difficult to reach home on time. So I request, we committed to BBMP also, but they didn't listen our words. So I request you that the pathways will be removed so that we can commute easily to office.
Still work under the old scheme called share schemes, which is not a freehold properties, which is really a big loss for exchequer for the government, because the one complex which I am representing is got almost 1,000 houses, where instead of which is not a freehold property, it's in the form of shares. So wherein the government, in case they register the entire property, each flat would fetch in a revenue of around 10 to 12 lakhs in terms of stamp duty, and on top of that, promoter still being in the loop. Still he's got a lot of his antics and he's been harassing the occupants. So we are termed as a tenants rather than as owners, in spite of paying through our noses. This, I guess, were only few complexes in Bangalore are there, probably these are few in Mumbai too. But this is not a good scheme, of course not promoted by the BJP government. Maybe the previous governments have done it on an experimental basis. Can this be corrected, ma'am?
Good evening. Even though our country had made huge progress in digitalization, we home buyers feel that we are a minority because the Zamindar system still exists. In my apartment, the builder has mortgaged the land to a financial institution and he has done a sale deed registration. Now we are in trouble whether he is paying the interest or not. And we are not sure whether these companies will send us a notice. So I request the finance minister to get some law. I don't know. I'm just as a layman term I'm speaking. And the second point is the money laundering activities which is happening within the apartment under the cover of Karnataka Society's 1960 Act, which is not supposed to raise even maintenance, but builders and association people who have colluded with the builder is using to complete the project. And in my case, I stood up for my rights and they have disconnected my power water. I went to police station. Police did not help me. Finally, I went to the commissioner. I did not get any because it's a civil matter. Finally, I had to go to the court to get the injunction order. So these are the things happening. So I don't know. I'm just raising my request here. If you can take it up with the respective authorities.
Is that consider forming, the government can consider forming an entity which has a participation from major employers from diverse fields, science, commerce and all the fields, and have the politics in it, influencers, professional associations like Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association, whom I represent, and this association will conceptualize and come up with a training course which will basically help the students bridge between their education and employability. Now, also being a chartered accountant practicing, I understand I should minimum take 8 to 9 months for a BCom graduate to be trained so that he can be in a particular deliverable position. So, considering this bridge, if this gap between education and employment can be bridged, then it will be a great thing for the young students who are
and moonshot problems for various reasons. States have to do their job, central government is doing its job, etc., etc. But I feel, since you are representing the Ministry of Finance, I believe at the confluence of the art of organizing farmers and the science of farming, a lot of solutions are there. For example, now recently we have a Ministry of Cooperation of Cooperatives. The Honorable Home Minister is holding the charge. There's Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Then we have a lot of initiatives under Startup India. I believe time is right for policy shifts, especially as the Ministry of Finance is a common thread which will link the Ministry of Cooperation. This is how you organize farmers. Ministry of Agriculture, which is in charge of ICAR and all the R&D, etc., policy initiatives, and the startup initiative in India. If Ministry of Finance can sew a thread among all of these three and come up with specific initiatives which will link agri-tech startups, for example, with FPOs, FPCs, cooperatives and collectives, I believe this can go in a long way to help smallholders, millions of smallholders in India. Thank you.
There are various clearances required from different departments and then OCs issued. So, and then there is a grievance raised by home buyer. It is not addressed. It is only limited to issuing notices. There are no further action taken, and it goes on for years together. The home buyers are forced to take it up the matter with the court. And so I would really request that there should be some kind of a proper coordination, and there should be some general guidance or directions from the government to the various departments, because departments are equally empowered.
Vaccination, I think we all should agree that we got a real life. The life for the next living life has been given by Prime Minister of India. That's very positive matter. And being chartered, I've been seen that several countries have gone for bankrupt. Being a woman, struggle and see the challenges. We brought the entire economy back to 5th largest economy. Very happy. I've been paying taxes, but I'm not asking. But being in civic and health and this one, many Ayushman Bharat have been covered below poverty line. I've also been connected to several hospitals. I've been also in the social organizations. Now of late, the middle class is not afford to get the medical facilities. Prime Minister of India recently has been dedicated one free medical college, free medical hospital under Sadhguru Madhusudan side. When we collect 33 lakh crores, why can't we just, Government of India can think of providing the free medical treatment for entire citizens of this country. When a Sadguru Madhusudan Sai can provide the medical college free of seat, cost and free medical treatment, why not Government of India in every state? I think we are very happy that Ayushman Bharat, if you bring for middle class, we appreciate or made efforts of day and night. I think the country is safe hands. The remaining life, I think we should not expect anything. We should contribute for the next government.